Hey Dream for America, it's Mallory McMorrow coming to you live from Michigan. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a really scary time and you could have chosen to do anything else, but you decided to be right here in this room, in your living room, in your dorm, on your couch, wherever you are, with friends from all across the country who recognize that this is a moment to find our voices. This is a moment to find some courage. This is a moment to find each other and to take our country back. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to start by saying thank you. Now, I want to tell you a little bit how I got here because I did not grow up thinking about politics. I mean, I sort of paid attention, I was involved, I was informed, and I voted relatively consistently. But I didn't grow up in a political family. I certainly never thought that I would run for office. I wasn't one of those people who was practicing my stump speech in a mirror. I was just living and trying to get by. I graduated from college in 2008 with a degree in industrial design, wanting to be a car designer. Now, that's quite possibly the worst time in American history to want to become a car designer. So I started out my adult life with tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, a degree with a great university, and I was sleeping in the back of my car or on friends' couches. I had had a fantastic internship that, in normal times, would have set me up for success. And instead, the only job I could get was folding clothes at Urban Outfitters for minimum wage. I grew up in the millennial era where so many of us were just scrapping and trying to dig ourselves out of a hole. This was where we saw hustle culture and grind culture, and it was common for somebody to have a day job, a night job, a second job, and a gig job. I know that if you were anything like me, that has burned you out very fast. For a long time, I was looking out for myself. And I can't blame you. When you are starting from behind and just trying to dig yourselves out of a hole, you're in survival mode. You're not really thinking about anything else. So I had built up a career that I was really proud of. I was finally saving money. I paid off my student loan debt. I was ready to settle down, and I did right here in Michigan. Then the 2016 election happened. And I remember waking up the day after that election to a video that went viral well before any of mine. It was of middle school students chanting "Build that wall" at another middle schooler. They were banging on the desks in the lunchroom, and it was absolutely terrifying. This was a girl who looked around the room and said, "These are my friends." And somehow this had become acceptable to demonize and target and scream at somebody just because they might look or sound a little different. So I did what any sane, normal, rational person does, and I Googled how to run for office. This was something new to me. I realized that there was something deep inside me that was missing. I had a great career by this point. I was doing well. I was taking care of myself. But I felt this nagging sense of guilt that I wasn't doing enough to help shape the country that I wanted to live in. And then we saw this man, Donald Trump, get elected. I found an organization called Emerge, which recruits and trains Democratic women to run for office. I applied thinking there is no way they would ever accept me. And the funny thing about raising your hand is you tend to be called on. So I spent 6 months learning how to write a campaign plan and organize and raise money with 22 women from all across Michigan. And then I decided to challenge my Republican state senator in 2018, my first ever election. Nobody thought we could win. This is a guy who had won by 16 points the cycle before. But there was something very freeing about not having any expectation on us. So we got more than 500 volunteers, and over the course of a year and a half, we worked our asses off. We knocked on doors, we organized, we talked to voters, and I heard a lot of people here in Michigan say some version of, "You remind me a lot of my daughter who left and went to Chicago or New York or Denver. Why are you in Michigan? And what can we do to bring our kids back?" That is the power of your voice. You are the next generation. You are who people are looking to for hope, for optimism. Use your voice and don't ever let anybody tell you that you are not powerful. Now, friends, by the end of that election, we beat him by 4 points, swinging a district more than 20 points in a single cycle. Then I came into the state Senate in a Republican-controlled state Senate, a chamber that had been controlled by Republicans since 1984. Over years, I toiled introducing dozens of bills on every single issue I ran on and wasn't able to pass a single bill. Then I gave a speech from the Senate floor. Now, you may have seen it. It went a little bit viral. But it wasn't about going viral. It wasn't about attention. It's what we did with it. I leveraged that moment. I grabbed a hold of that spotlight, and we raised millions of dollars to help a dozen other state Senate candidates, and we flipped control of the Michigan State Senate for the first time since 1984, my entire lifetime. And it's not just about winning. It's not. Everybody will try to make this about a horse race, but it's about power and what you do with it. So when we took power here in Michigan, we governed like we give a damn. We repealed the tax on seniors, something that Governor Rick Snyder had put in place to tax seniors on a fixed income. We finally did something real about gun violence prevention. And as somebody who has lost a friend to gun violence, I cannot tell you how impossible that felt just a few years ago. We closed the domestic violence loophole. We passed universal background checks, safe storage, and my red flag law here in Michigan. We've just passed a ban on ghost guns out of the state Senate, and we are going to keep going. We expanded voting rights. We made it easier for people all across our state to vote, including allowing 16-year-olds to pre-register to vote so that you're automatically registered to vote, and it turns on right when you turn 18 so you don't miss your first election. We have expanded our civil rights, explicitly protecting LGBTQ Michiganders from discrimination, banning discrimination on natural hairstyles, which disproportionately impacts the Black community. We have made it easier for returning citizens to register to vote and participate in our democracy. We passed the strongest clean energy legislation in the entire Midwest. We've lifted more than 100,000 families out of poverty. We passed universal free breakfast and lunch for kids in all K-12 schools. We've invested more in our schools, and we're just getting started. That is what people are looking for. People who know how to step up, who know how to fight, but not just to fight for fighting's sake, so that when you win, that you do what you say you are going to do. We need people to believe in the power of politics and government again, because right now, Donald Trump is tearing everything down. And that's going to be the task that's on all of us. So if you're watching this right now and wondering, well, what the hell can I do? Just know you've already started. You've taken a first step. You are tuning in tonight to watch this event, and you can keep going. Maybe you're organizing your college campus. Maybe you're organizing your dorm. Maybe you're reaching out to just a few friends who you know are as overwhelmed as you are, just to see, can we learn to do a little bit more? Maybe you go to a city council meeting. Maybe you're going to push back on book bans. Maybe you will be the next person to Google how to run for office, and I hope that you do. No matter what you do, find your voice, find your footing, know that you are so powerful. This is a country that is made by people, not by one person, not by any president, but by all of us. There are 360 million Americans, and you can have the power to shape this country by building up groups of people starting exactly where you are. We're going to need you in 2026. We're going to need you in 2028. And it starts right now. Because here's the truth. There is going to be a future after Donald Trump. I know that there is. And I know that he's been around for probably most of your lifetime, and that doesn't feel like a possibility just yet. But it's not that far away. And the opportunity that we have ahead of us right now is to start laying out what that roadmap looks like. It's not enough to go back to the way things were, because for a lot of people, like me, somebody who graduated right into the recession, the status quo wasn't working, regardless of who was in power. So this is our chance. This is our chance to write a new roadmap, a new playbook, create a new American dream, something that's actually available and accessible to everybody. And that should be right up your alley, because this is Dream for America. Now look, the United States is not a perfect country. It never has been. Our founders themselves wrote about the idea of a more perfect union. Now, writing those words down already implies that it's not perfect yet. We are always striving to be better. But 4 years of hate can't drown out 250 years of hope. We got to keep going. We got to keep building. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for all the work that you have done, and thank you so much for all of the work that you will do. We're going to do something incredible together.